This video is intended to be an in-depth description tour of a stationary mount light tech device named a Diadem, previously referred to as a candle crown, which is of course a salt lamp mounted device. But now, in this current rendition, this is named Sacred Harmony Diadem. So as a disclaimer, this video will be quite in-depth and quite long with great visual cues drafted out for explanation to the fullest for all the components and the larger function to be had with this device. So I would actually advise perhaps a beverage or two, in my case, to smooth out the journey for this long haul that's about to be a very long description video. I will get straight into the crystalline composition of this device as a further reference to its vibratory nature and function in a larger scale that actually has a ground into the primary ground of the house, which is a whole long dissertation into its own right. So, in the meantime, I'll go ahead and pop this guy off and describe its crystalline ignition order. So as you can see right here, before I describe any of the crystals involved to make a certain vibratory output, this is an alligator clip clipped to the central primary wire that is the foundation of this stationary mount known as a diadem, or salt lamp diadem, I should say. So this right here is an alligator clip designed for grounding sheets particularly, which is a in fashion, quite in vogue situation for many different energy conscious practitioners or just people that like good vibes in the world, to take the excess frequency of the energy and utilize a grounding cord path that goes into the house ground. All these outlets in everyone's house, if it's up to code, should be terminated together, and also, most importantly, run to an 8-foot copper rod somewhere in the premise that is actually driven into the earth to be a direct contact patch. So, as a reference right now, basically the big idea of this metaphysical construct is to utilize the modern electrical engineering mainframe that all houses are supposed to have if it's up to code, which most likely it is, to have a grounding arc and a common ground for all electricity in the house to, most importantly, ground it safely into the earth meridian matrix. And an aspect too, of course, is that these ground paths for this 8-foot copper rod somewhere on the premise is actually designed to be able to withstand and discharge and make a safe bypass ground for lightning striking a house, for example. And which we know, thank goodness, to the 80s cult classic Back to the Future, that is 1.21 gigawatts of energy, which is a lot of energy to safely discharge through a house. So that tried and true electrical engineering, tangible mainframe that we all live in if we're in a house, is based on that premise. So the big aspect of this entire construct also is to get the most out of that man-made electrical circuit that is surrounding us at all times, while having these frequencies described here on a perpetual clearing modality such as a salt lamp. Himalayan salt lamps with an incandescent bulb particularly illuminate heat, which heats up the salt, which produces a negative ion generator, which also is a very powerful transmuter of negativity into positivity, hence the occult usage of a salt circle, for example, so entities cannot enter the sphere, is very much a more modern rendition. We're using modern technology in this timeline to get the most out of this kind of peak ratio clearing energy that's very good for a space by itself. Then a light tech construct of complex crystalline ignition order designed to live its life and fulfill its destiny in this perpetual cleared momentous state to A, purify the ratio at all times, to harmonize it, and also with it being at a purified maximum frequency pitch, such as a charge of heat consistently from the candle, it will develop a very powerful peak vibrational frequency condition for this guy to live on. And another aspect too that's relevant to particularly the commissioner of this device is that this will serve functionally as also a mainframe to be able to put other devices in their custody, like so, for example, a wand, to put it there when not in use to charge and clear, as well as synergize and harmonize, and most importantly, when not in use, give it a safe charging, clearing, grounding pathway to the wall outlet. As a relevant example right there. So both sides over here will be able to do this feature for both the wand and talisman in the recipient's formats, like so. So that will serve as a functional mainframe that will purify and run this entire frequency throughout the entire house grid of the matrix through each of the outlets, thereby containing a unified field shield or a very powerful electromagnetic interference inhibitor, essentially turning the house into a magic castle. While the healing room this will be intended to be in for the recipients practicing of healing modalities will be in a healing room, which will be the citadel of the entirety of this magic castle running through. That'll be like the hard epicenter where, of course, in that room will be the most intensive emanation of this grounded arc situation of this device, which I've yet to get into. Basically, of course, it's important to describe these aspects as a precursor to more comprehension of why any of these frequencies in a closed-loop broadcast will be pivotal for this goal of a etheric shield generator to ensure the highest vibes in the house and in the entire family matrix, which of course most importantly grounds into the earth. That's the most important aspect, actually, is this kind of perpetual contained purified optimized energy in a circuit, if you would, at wide open throttle, max peak frequency, purified at a consistent ratio when this light is turned on and engaged, is a way to always have perpetual good energy throughout the entirety of the house in using a physical, tangible, electrical engineering mainframe. Okay. So I guess I will pop this guy off again to get into the specifics of the different crystals utilized for this Sacred Harmony Diadem. I will start off with the basic foundation of the 4 points seen here. So, as also another preface to this entire construct is that this diadem, designed to be a perpetual purified generator, is actually a compilation of some of the greatest hits in distribution when it comes to light tech or light vibrational engineering of different archetypal platforms that have been, so to speak, greatest hits, if you would, all in one construct, with these 4 power packs being the 4 main engines. Of course, 4 also being indicative of balance, which is honoring of the medicine wheel, the Lakota medicine wheel, the directions, which, of course, since it's here, for descriptive sake, it will be addressed. Okay, I think I've digressed long enough to finally get into the heart of the matter. Okay, so this entire diadem foundation, the circular formation right here, is based off the transmutation ratio, which is a very tried and true platform that has been, well, in distribution now for being very, very effective for its simplistic goal of simply running the aspects of hematite and smoky quartz. But in this case, it has 2 blade bands, which is, of course, running the smoky quartz and hematite on silver, while this side is actually brass. So with the same exact ignition frequency, with the opposite polarity of yang as brass, yin as silver, or receptive intake as silver, or projective output as brass, you get the most out of the positive and negative of the same frequency, developing its own vibrational compound interest for the intake and output of that perpetual grounded foundation transmutation ratio. So, of course, hematite and smoke quartz in conjunction work fantastic with the hematite to actually ground all excess stray energies through the base chakra, most importantly into the earth star chakras, the chakras beneath the feet that contact with the earth, then into the earth meridian matrix for reprocessing. So naturally, smoky quartz works in tandem with that to ensure that all excess energy is well arced and grounded through the system and purified, because you can think of it as a thorough Teflon where no negativity can really stick to the field with the influence of that much constant grounding arc pathway to tap into Mother Earth to reprocess the energy consistently, kind of like the charcoal filter or carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide process. So that is why that foundation of this entire construct, it's already going to be a lot to talk about. My fifth's already seizing up. It's a lot to keep together, obviously, as anybody's endured this far upon almost 10 minutes. And we're just getting started. So, That's why the transmutation ratio on both the projective, once again brass and silver, the yin and yang, positive and negative, frequency is the foundation of this entire diadem, and hence it's also built upon a primary wire like seen here, which is already being utilized with an alligator clip in this video for the full dissertation of this concept in clarity and coherence. So, this entire foundation, of course, was spooled on a primary wire that actually is very size appropriate to the recipient of this device, who already has the candle in her healing room set up. So this entire perimeter, and diameter, it was measured exactly to be perfect for the candle in her custody, which is approximately this size. Hence, for the description of this video, this is the closest size I have in my custody to what she already has. Hence, will be employed for the visual cues. Alrighty, so that'd be the foundational primary wire. So also pretty evident, all these other 4 power packs are all grounded with their own complex subroutine of energies on their own primary wire, and their primary wire is grounded to this primary wire to generate a closed loop circuit. Alrighty, so I might as well hop straight into the bear in the room, this power pack right here, and take a sip of water. Okay, so this power pack particularly is actually a First Nation rendition of the tried and true, fan favorite, if I dare say, Miracle Ratio power pack. So the Miracle Ratio is quite fantastic, for it is designed to be a full chakra calm electromagnetic and light spectrum engager. Starting off with ruby for the red ray, sunstone for the beneficent sacrum solar plexus stimulation, tiger's eye for the proper alignment of the lower 3, peridot for the positivity of the 3rd and 4th heart-will conjunction, into emerald, the king of the green ray abundance frequency perfected green ray heart chakra energies, into its cousin aquamarine, the cardinal water 4th and 5th communicator, then into the lovely classic turquoise, which is represented both here and here, for the wholeness stabilization of the 4 elements in the fish chakra focus, then into lapis lazuli, the classic stone of ancient Egypt, past life regression, stone of favorite of millions over thousands of years, just like turquoise. Lapis is lovely wind elemental, 5th and 6th higher center stimulator, then transitioning into super 7, an exotic variant of amethyst, but we can just basically, for this description, keep it simple with this violet purple ray designation as a 6th, 7th, and non-physical chakra activator. Then transitioning into the lovely scoicite, a lovely white ray stone of divinity of 6th, 7th, and non-physical chakras, particularly the soul star, the first chakra above the physical crown chakra, which is a gateway to our higher self contact patch knowledge for the conscious self. Then transitioning into hematite to complete the circuit out, since that is the rendition of the 7 rays with the unification of the white ray right here in great dose, it was very relevant to basically complete the circuit with something that further grounds that contact patch, such as hematite, like so up to here. And most importantly, this entire circuit of different frequency octaves seen here are all subcapacitated by the lovely golden healer quartz, which is a very powerful higher heart gold white light Christ frequency consciousness emanation connection to source. So the importance of why that's very significant is that it takes the entire 7-ray typical spectrum, then the engagement of ruby, then into golden healer quartz puts the source contact patch in between all of the octaves that do translate to our physical nerve ganglion chakra column, which is very advantageous to have the dominance of the entire vibration being the Christ frequency resonance connection to creation in between all the energies that do indeed correspond and ignite with the typical standard chakra column or the electromagnetic spectrum of light. And most importantly, even on one circuit to continue that full octave stimulation to further ground it with the extra space I had left to complete the blade band, to ensure that the energy goes ground, then also grounds the golden healer quartz Christ energy emanation frequency through the entire circuit as it runs perpetual momentum. So of course, like I've mentioned, you can imagine that entire frequency circuit, yet it will always be at peak maximum frequency due to the purification charging ratio this will produce. So this entire emanation pack will be at wide open maximum throttle at all times, basically, of course, making a very dominant vibration, idyllic miracle ratio shield. And so before I get into these blade face proper iconography, I will of course get into the fact that this core right here is a lovely piece of Palo Santo, which smells delicious and is actually a favorite of the recipient of this device. Hence it was requested to be utilized as the wooden core of this dominant power pack. And just like other light tech such as wands and talismans, I utilized and shaped selenite to be on this side right here throughout the entirety of the naturally 4-inch long core. So when I acquired this Palo Santo, which was already perfect as it was exactly at 4 inches when I came back to my workshop to measure it, see if I need to alter its cutting. So naturally, 4 being pretty much the premier number of balance, hence the medicine wheel of the 4 directions, I felt it was very appropriate to leave the 4-inch construct alone and build a platform around it. But I did, of course, cut the selenite and shape it to exactly the same shape as a Palo Santo that was acquired for this project. So the selenite right here, selenite is actually, of course, represented in all 4 of these power packs, which I will get into right now and save myself trouble in the further tour that will be pretty far out from now to be complete, obviously. So selenite is a very quintessential critical component in all light tech, I say quite often, because it has a certain aspect where by itself it makes a lovely 6th and 7th, 8th, all the way non-physical chakra stimulation to one's highest self-contact patch. So the debris interfering with the higher self connectivity to the conscious self are very quickly cleared and bridged to that ultimate Godhead knowing. So that by itself makes it very cool. And also works as a very powerful clearing of densities of negative energies that are affecting the body physically, which is by itself really amazing. But the most critical aspect utilized in all light tech, for this reason, it will take the entire frequency pitch of all the 4 power packs combined, if you would, even, or particularly more domestically with this exact design that's been ground to a larger apparatus. It will take these entire of this bandwidth frequency, it will amplify, harmonize, and purify them. So when you have the trifecta of everything being amplified together, but yet harmonized, then purified, that's quite the winning trifecta to really ensure a truly effective spirit tool is actually being practically utilized for tangible theurgy, or basically magic, to put it quite simply. Okay, now I got that out of the way. And another disclaimer also is that with all the selenites, I've mounted strictly black kyanite to all of these different selenite points here to ensure the contact patch is always grounding to the earth. So oftentimes I'll employ the 4 spectrums of kyanite easily available to me, such as blue, green, orange, and black for the full connected spectrum transference of energy but this is obviously a stationary background energetic purifier field generator that's designed to make the house very comfortable and very grounded and very structurally energetically sound in that purpose. So black kyanite by itself has been explicitly utilized for this purpose to ensure that this entire frequency pitch, particularly when at wide open throttle, max voltage basically at all times when engaged, grounded to the earth through the house mainframe, black kyanite works to rapidly bridge all energies through the entire body, particularly into the Earth stars, into the Earth meridian matrix for reprocessing. So the criticality of utilizing just a very intensive, strong contact patch grid by itself as the piloting energy guidance, because you think of kyanite also being a very powerful way, aspect to have the projection or transference of energy be very directional in that aspect. So having the black ray connotation always ensures that this entire construct gets a very strong contact patch to Mother Earth, which is the purpose of practical, tangible etheric shifts that are also comfortable. which is one of our big goals too with this kind of construct, particularly for being designed to be in the citadel or the healing room of the practitioner. So whoever she has come over under her jurisdiction of service for spiritual means, that is also another aspect of designed to be a very comfortable, grounded environment for the purpose to actually also be auto-reactive with the kinites to adjust the frequency pitch to the other energy entering the citadel, if you would, to auto-regulate the excess grounding patch for the recipient, particularly if they're laying on the healing table, which I actually probably should have put right here based on the pictures of the space I'm making this for. Here we go, that's the healing table, that's where the candle should be. And yes, quite simply, that aspect right there is that it also will make a very quick background frequency purification ground. So even on that respect also, so obviously this is going to a practitioner who has people that appreciate her medicine or assistance of magic for their well-being. So this whole aspect too kind of ties back to an ounce's worth of 2 pounds of the cure. By having such a pristine high vibration reality yield at a consistent ratio with such a device, you can think of that also being a background energy that when let's just say, I have no idea where the front door is of this magic castle, but let's just say here's the front door. And there's definitely an outlet next to it. And a recipient, of course, a candidate coming for a healing, a little stick figure for everybody, is about to enter the space. It works also kind of like a pre-washing, where as they enter the emanation field of this entirety of this now dubbed magic castle, that the purification around their auric field will also do a very powerful pre-wash before they even enter the space, and before they even consciously lay down, you'll do a lot of etheric purification through a harmonic, purified, consistent divine ratio. Okay. So back to the power pack. So I will describe this section next because it is quite critical for the harmonization goal. So agates and jaspers of all variations are the most stabilized vibrational variants, atomically speaking, in the mineral kingdom. So the utilization of these jasper spectrums as such agates are the most stabilized corresponding stimulations to the entire chakra column and the elements. So obviously stability is key to longevity, as well as tangible magical gains with stability is more permanent and more comfortable. Primarily, this aspect too, of course, is to have this high frequency induction with the most comfort as possible is one of the primary goals, naturally. So I'll start off with the root up. This right here is the lovely underrated red jasper, a stone used in ancient antiquity times for magical purposes that I will omit because I want to keep this under an hour for this video. But red jasper is the quintessential stabilization of the red ray earth element in the mineral kingdom, also stabilizing the sacrum in contact. So that's the stabilization foundation stone right there. Then above that right here, in proper ignition ascending order, would be fire agate. Fire agate is an amazing in-the-body zest for life experience that has a strong stimulation to both the base, the sacrum, and the solar plexus. The most stabilized stimulation of the fire elemental spectrums of the body, even hitting a little bit of the earth spectrum of the base chakra. Then transitioning into moss green agate, which is an amazing green ray water elemental heart stabilizer, very important for this section, to stabilize the contact patch of the heart, which is also a very effective way to adhere to the patterns of one's higher self factory blueprint or the spiritual dharmic output. So, having that stabilized pattern of the heart is very advantageous in all ways too, and also moss green agate is known as stone of abundance in an even more stabilized fashion than its amazing green ray cousin, not even a cousin, sorry, green ray, I guess colleague of the same spectrum, I should say, emerald. Then transitioning into the lovely blue lace agate, which is a stabilization of the 5th chakra through a water frequency filter. So obviously in the modality of a counselor or practitioner, being able to speak clearly, consistently, and also with the higher wisdom, particularly that of their channeled information into a comprehensive, cohesive mold, is quite advantageous. So, Blue lace agate probably answers that call just about anybody else better in the entire mineral kingdom for that purpose of stabilizing the fifth chakra. So obviously, in such a advanced rendition, it was a completely critical, necessary thing in honor of the vocation of this recipient. Then, transitioning up into the wind element is the lovely but very rare holly blue agate, which comes from only one mine in northern Oregon, which I believe has been mined up for years now. But thank goodness, by providence of the force, I have great access to the stone for such exotic constructs that require full elemental stabilization. So, holly blue agate is a purple agate, which is a wind 6/7 stimulant, but most importantly, a stabilizer of the 6th and 7th. So there's many stones out there that have higher chakra stimulations towards clairvoyance and all the other siddhis or psychic gifts, if you would. But stabilizing of the mind is its treasure in its own right, not to mention if someone's serious about the metaphysical, academic, alchemical path of true mastery. So having a stable mind for these spiritual perceptions is self-evidently very amazing. So as the design ignition sequence of stabilization of earth, fire, water, and wind in this miracle circuit, which is also conducive to our harmonic concept. Okay. So, at the very bottom right here of this power pack is a lovely piece of black obsidian carved like flint napped like the ways of old of black obsidian arrowhead utilized by First Nation hunters. Obviously a very magical arrowhead, and so why it's relevant here, besides the First Nation honoring connotation, is that obsidian volcanic glass is a very, very amazing transmuter of negativity and positivity. And more particularly, just like its colleague, they're not cousins, they're colleagues of the black ray smoky quartz. It makes a very powerful grounding contact patch into Mother Earth for transmutation into reprocessing. So that aspect too is its directional focus is designed to actually, of course, focus energy, just like they did back in the day while they made these arrowheads for great magical gains in hunting, was also to be a very effective grounder of this energy once again, and very effective for any kind of cord cutting or by insulating the auric field, and also psychic protection. So obsidian is a very amazing black ray magical protective stone, so it obviously had to be here. Okay, so this guy right here is a variant of quartzite or orange calcite with a little bit of quartz in its matrix with a bear on it. So the recipient and I discussed the First Nation application connotations of this device, and what came to her was the medicine of the bear. Very powerful, strong medicine. As everybody knows, unanimously, bears are a force of nature not to be trifled with. So that's a very powerful aspect. Also, of course, this is going to a mama bear to encourage that shaman mama protective nature of her tribe or her kin, like a mama bear. So that's a very fun little aspect there. And also, of course, most importantly in context of this entire device is to ensure that the recipient of this device as a practitioner is always standing strong in her truth and love of creation in the old ways and sacred harmony. So very powerful totem to have employed here. Then transitioning up to above the bear is Libyan gold tektite, an amazing cousin to moldavite in its vibrational context and connotation. A very powerful stone of the pharaohs of old would actually carve this into scarab beetles and use it as their power breastplate center engine, so to speak. And was a very powerful magical stone that the Magi, Pharaoh Jedi, would actually send out teams to recover this stone for 150 square miles of remote Libyan desert to acquire this. Actually, as a matter of fact, I wear that on my ring, my middle finger, because this stone is quite vibrant and very amazing. And why it's quite amazing too, it has a certain stimulation to the sacrum and solar plexus, which you considered a fire elemental frequency, which is very enthusiasm generating and also very powerful for manifestations, and also most importantly for why I use it so much on my receptive middle finger particularly, is to be able to draw upon the intention of higher sourced energies and then direct that energy into focus and form for beneficent tangible results. So that could be considered a fire elemental frequency with storm overtones that stimulate the entire chakra column. So it's also very physically energizing by being a primarily fire with storm energy, which is the continuity of all the elements combined. And it's a very powerful stone for manifestation and also a very positive, sunny, light extraterrestrial frequency. Okay, then transitioning up to this lovely specimen of blue turquoise, which of course had to be in great prominence if it had any kind of First Nation ramifications. That was a critical component to be in honor of the old ways of medicine. Turquoise, like mentioned right here, is a stone of favorites by millions over thousands of years now for a very good reason, because it is something quite stunning and very beautiful to behold, and also metaphysically speaking, it's a very lovely stone of wholeness, which combines the aspects of earth, fire, water, and wind in the focus of the fifth chakra. So it is also known as the ancient grandfather ally of many First Nation circles, and is quite famous and worth notoriety in many ways. And I believe that is finally just the miracle power pack of the diadem. As a summary, this is a certain frequency ignition in distribution that's provided quite astonishing magical results for the recipients of this particular frequency. Hence, I've dubbed it the miracle ratio for actually a good tangible reason, not just for fun, but for practical R&D sake of this emanation of the full spectrum stimulation with, of course, everything else mentioned in this whole aspect to stabilize and ensure also more First Nation connotations, but also to keep one in their peak absolute vibrational condition, most importantly in contact with their direct Christ template resonance with the heart of creation. That by itself is pretty extraordinary. Now, moving on. I will do one of these guys, which will be basically completely identical to the opposite over here. These are intensively high yield pink gray, what also I refer to as love shine generators. These are extreme pink gray divine love concentration frequencies, with golden healer quartz once again being the subcapacitation to ensure the Christ frequency contact patch is in between this entire ignition sequence when it's running its circuit. So, starting down here, let's see if I can get a good angle. I can't get past that tree of life to describe the pink gray blade band. That'll do. Okay, so starting off right here, this ignition ratio is the lovely classic rose quartz in a lovely round pink gray stone of divine love. Everybody knows that. Going into golden healer quartz for the Christ frequency contact patch to take that pink gray into the gold white energy of the connection to the heart of creation. Then going into the lovely kunzite. Kunzite is a lithium-based pink gray stone which provides a great deal of soothing to the divine love ratio. Of course, as everybody knows, lithium is a highly utilized, probably inappropriate in this context, but an antipsychotic for many patients in the Western medicine field of extreme bipolar or schizophrenia, is used to calm them down through lithium injections. Kind of a dramatic reference, but the point is, for lithium in a frequency running a circuit makes a very soothing, calming vibration that is very, very powerful for calming the heart into its divine highest receptivity. Golden healer quartz once again, then transitioning into the lovely morganite. Morganite is an amazing pink gray stone because it actually is of the beryl family, which makes it a cousin to aquamarine and emerald of the same hardness of oftentimes 8.5 out of 10, which means it has a very dense atomical structure of its vibration, which makes it a very strong, powerful pink gray emanation. So having that trifecta of the pink gray stones, just like exactly over here, same map, so I can save myself the time with the video to describe this guy individually. That is the entire domination of that vibratory circuit, with a simplistic clear quartz main engine in between that, with selenite and black kyanite to be a purification acceleration. Also take the contact patch and black kyanite to ground it through the earth. And on the topical aspect of both of these sides of the diadem is the lovely flower of life with its own full electromagnetic spectrum honoring. With the tree of life, And also, I took the opportunity to go ahead and wrap a very light homage to the medicine wheel, as seen here, on both sides of these trees of life. So you take the spectrum just like the miracle ratio with classic good old red garnet, a lovely red ray stone, very much associated with ruby in the old days, sometimes confused in that time of ignorance. It was kind of a really rude word to say, but yes. And of course, a strong stimulant to the red ray. Then going into the lovely carnelian, classic orange ray stone of antiquity. Then going into a little citrine classic. Then into peridot. Then into right here, I believe actually this is blue apatite. And then going into iolite. Then into amethyst. So it kind of makes another like full spectrum honoring homage to the electromagnetic spectrum of the chakra column unified, yet using the tree of life as the foundation, which of course can be also construed as Yggdrasil, the tree of life from Nordic mythology, and as so above, as so below. That is an aspect too of the tree of life, is that the bigger the trees spreads up here, the bigger the foundation here. So it's an honoring of heaven and earth also. Great magical symbol. And I'll go ahead and show off this side right here just to get the full rounded tour in this video. Exactly the same thing going on here, except in a backwards connotation, which is like the opposite spectrum, to have kind of like a antithesis ratio of the red to purple spectrum. Then, this guy, what only differentiates these two devices right here, these power packs, if you would, on the diadem, would be the concentration of using brass as the primary wire that has these pink ray stones igniting. Then this guy over here is silver. So you take the exact same frequency output, except it's on also a receptive with the silver intake. Then the output is matched with the projective of the exact same pink ray frequency. So you can think of that as being a very strong, most importantly, divine love on the divine Christed source love actually, on the receptive intake, as well as the output to complete the circuit of that particular higher heart connection creation connectivity into, once again, practicality and grounded. Surprisingly making pretty good time considering how much context there is, but in summary, I'm sure it'll catch up with more of these descriptions, obviously. Anyhows, so this is what I refer to as the angelic, healing, soothing, tranquil ratio. Right here, if I can get it to behave itself. Okay. So concealed underneath all these stones is a larger piece of a lovely Lemurian clear quartz, which is actually the central engine of this entire power pack on this diadem. So Lemurian clear quartz, of course, is a very special variety of quartz. Oftentimes comes from Brazil, South America, but as a lovely, amazing, programmable energy carrier. Hence, I utilize Lemurian quartz almost exclusively in most light blade wands, such as the guy on my lap, for clarity's sake, right here, to be the primary engine program container that actually runs the entirety of the light blade circuit. So utilizing that guy gives a very powerful programmability to the entire vibratory ignition around it. Hence, this is going to a practitioner so she can put her prayers and her intentions with love, in love, and through love into this guy right here, and it will hold the codes for her intentions of it being a very even amount of energy for the love and protection of her family and for any intentions through the magic castle. Okay. So I'll go ahead and describe the blade band ratio before I get into the components that are actually on this blade face. So starting from here, I'm trying to actually get a better angle. Maybe I can put it back on here by now. Perfect. That actually will work. I was quite bothersome trying to get the right framing for the description. Okay, back to it. Enough digressions. So this right here, just like everything else in this video, that has been used as a subcapacitor between any frequency, is golden healer quartz. So obviously, any ignition sequence in this entire construct, besides the primary foundational transmutation ratio, has been ignited as a subcapacitor with golden healer quartz, because having the entirety of the dominance of the vibration in connection with the gold white light, Christ, central sun, heart of creation vibration is a quintessential goal of such a sacred harmony diadem, to actually have a functional shield generator that connects ones to their divine blueprint in authenticity and tangibility. So the heavy dose of this golden healer quartz cannot be understated in its critical importance for the vibratory goal this device has been developed to produce. Okay. I think I covered that once and for all there, perhaps. I might digress into it one more time because its criticality cannot be underrated, so to speak, for comprehension's sake of this video's dissertation. Okay. Golden healer quartz into prehnite. Prehnite is an amazing, relatively criminally underrated green ray stone of healing. Prehnite by itself has a very strong stimulation to the third and fourth chakras. It is actually a earth and water frequency combined. So it's a very powerful healer of the healer's frequency context there. And it is a very lovely soother of excess heart energies, and most importantly grounds it, stabilizes it through the earth. It also brings a very serene, healing, comfortable frequency to the entire nervous system. But most importantly, one of my favorite part about this is that it is the closest green ray analog frequency to the particular sphere of Raphael, the archangel, the Clohan of the green ray. So having that natural analog dial-up connection bandwidth frequency to the great healer of the archangelic spectrum is a very advantageous disposition, energetically speaking, to have that part of sorcery sponsorship, obviously. And I could say in my own personal repertoire of my sponsorship of sorcery, Raphael is a critical component to the effectivity of drawing upon a higher dimensional frequency of beneficent, loving, healing emanation, and to utilize that for the benefit of those under my jurisdiction. So having that analog frequency just at a constant ratio makes a very lovely connection to the angelic realm. And to further triple down on that angelic frequency is the lovely, incredible seraphinite in the engagement sequence, also a larger piece represented here to get a proper, obvious dose of that frequency, which will be quite pivotal and critical for the effectivity of this all design. And so seraphinite is an amazing green ray stone, which obviously has heart chakra stimulation connotations, yet seraphinite takes the entire chakra column and actually stimulates from the top to bottom in a very angelic cellular respiration repatterning format. It's a very lovely kundalini stimulant, but most importantly, it's a very powerful stone for dismantling any outmodel patterns through the entire chakra column that would be impeding the properly functioning Christed light body, and most importantly, dismantle the diseases that are of the false self matrix that actually manifest as dis-ease. So it is one of the quintessential true master healers of this timeline, in my humble opinion, of obviously excessive R&D, as can be seen with my fervor. And so I do always say this quite often too, is that this perhaps is one of my top 5 favorite stones based on its effectivity, its lovely beauty, and its sheer healing potentiality that's been utilized in practicality thus far. So that domination of that, once again, the seraphinite, golden healer quartz into prehnite, and so on, is a very powerful healing, Christed frequency of the angelic realm at a constant pitch ratio. That's just the blade band itself. Now I'll get into the goodies that make it even more special. So, I described the seraphinite in great detail. Then right above that is serpentine, actually right from my backyard here in Mount Shasta. So that is what you can call Mount Shasta serpentine, which is a relatively humble common stone for this area, but it actually is quite the potent light body activator in its own right, and actually runs a very powerful stimulation of the Kundalini circuit, which is of course cellular respiration or any kind of deficiencies in light body from bottom to top. So very lovely high vibration inducer, yet very common and humble in appearance, which works lovely in tandem, particularly with seraphinite, to get the most out of that holy Kundalini sensation, yet, of course, not the overwhelming Kundalini, but more of the stabilized Kundalini, obviously. And Another amazing healing master stone in tandem with seraphinite I use quite often, kind of like ketchup and fries, is star argonite. Star argonite is an amazing calcium-based master healer. Looks like it's shaped like a star, hence the guy's name, which is a very powerful frequency stimulator for the entire chakra column as a whole. So any aspect of the meridians or chakras with this calcium-based full light body inducer works to really clear and dissipate any kind of dysfunctions or diseases that impede the natural light body at full function. So, when in tandem with the full stimulation of the seraphinite and the master healing stone star argonite, it runs the pathway together with the seraphic archangelic soul influence running the pathway in tandem with the star argonite makes a very powerful clearing capacity for any chakra in the chakra column, anything impeding the full unified Christed light body or the idyllic factory blueprint settings of one's higher self template manifest on 3D work very well in tandem to rapidly dispel them, but yet bring extreme soothing and calm to that aspect. So of course, many people have experienced high vibration scenarios that are pretty intense on the conscious self, but those two in tandem bring that kind of healing, tangible, miraculous sensation, yet in a very calm, serene, transcendent, divine way together. So they are the best of the both worlds in one circuit for that exact purpose. And to further soothe out that harmonious, blissful energy is the lovely Larimar, an amazing, soothing blue-ray stone discovered more recently, but quite a metaphysical powerhouse to stimulate the 5th and 6th chakras, producing a very powerful oasis of calm and a lovely balancer of both fire and water energies. And is very much a serene, clearing, calming, soothing vibration, almost unparalleled in the mineral kingdom for its capacity to soothe at the 5th chakra. Turquoise is, of course, like a vibrational cousin, but doesn't quite hold the candle to the calming capacity that Larimar has, which is an oasis of calm of blue. And to further intensify that oasis of calm is the lovely Scoasite, which is also part of the Miracle Blade Band ratio. Scoasite is an amazing white ray stone of divinity that has a very strong submission to the 6th, 7th, 8th non-physical chakras, but yet the higher index stimulation of the higher chakra column is very soothed as well. Very calm, peaceful, like a floating on a balloon to divinity kind of sensation. It's a lovely, lovely stone for the higher self-witness perspective of reality. And also, of course, in an environment makes a very calm, soothing, divine energy emanation. Inner peace is one of the key words of this stone, just like this guy and these guys also, actually. Of course, that's why they're complementary tandem frequencies in one circuit on one aspect of the whole of this diadem. Hence, at least I'm very thorough in my discussions here. Okay. And one aspect too, to really supercharge this entire circuit, see if I can get the proper angle for this guy real quick, so really actually get a good expose. Okay. So of course, like I mentioned, this is the selenite and the black kyanite to increase the contact patch and purification, acceleration, and harmonization of this particular power pack. Yet, this guy up here is a special variety of quartz named rutilated quartz, which actually is golden threads of rutile or titanium oxide going through this quartz. So, what makes it especially critical and effective here at the top of this power pack is that it actually works as a tremendous supercharger. So you can think of just like a turbo in a car to like ramrod more energy or through the intake for the air ratio to get more horsepower. This guy right here also gets more energy, more horsepower through the entirety of this angelic, soothing, healing frequency circuit. So to supercharge this guy by itself, which is a very calming, soothing, healing, full light body activator, is a very advantageous move to get the most out of this one power pack as part of the Diadem unit. Okay, so that also, of course, since it's a quartz base, works as another neutral programmable aspect that could be, of course, programmed under the intention of the wielder of this device is intended to be in her jurisdiction or her custody. So, by supercharging that entire closed loop circuit of that angelic healing just makes that pop like crazy, quite simply, to make it quite palpable to hear. And yes, so that surprisingly actually should be the entire crystal composition of the diadem. Okay, now this aspect, now we'll get more into the visual cues I drafted up for the summary aspect. So, since this is a First Nation derived device, the big idea too, that hence these leather pieces are staged for the descriptive purpose, is to take the directions of white, yellow, red, and black, the 4 directions, and use variations of properly artistically palpable cuts of these, I guess you could say, and wrap them between the 4 power packs, which can serve as the 4 directions. So at the behest of the recipient, this section right here, where the angelic pack is, which will be most likely facing the candidates on the table she uses for practicing, will be the white and yellow spectrum. So you can think there'll be white leather, kind of like this, a very crude example, but at least it's here for descriptive sake, to have a variation of prettier than this, obviously, white going around this like so to honor the white in the directions. Then between this pack right here will be a variation of yellow wrapped around this section of the band, which will have yellow all the way across. Transitioning into red, back here next to the First Nation inspired power pack, obviously towards the red road, the path of medicine, will be wrapped like so between these 2 power packs. Then the black will be right here, like so, between those power packs. So, that's individually described. And so as a summary, I will go ahead and stand up for this aspect to show a topical view of this concept in action of white. Actually, I'll go ahead and grab these guys while I'm at it. Of white, yellow, red. Now this is a horrible visual cue, but bear with me. And black. So from here, of course, topically, you can imagine this guy would have the yellow between this section evenly wrapped in artistic, palpable means, and white, then red, then black across here, which would be a functional honoring of the medicine wheel of the 4 directions of the Lakota medicine wheel in tandem, in perpetual harmony at wide open throttle, max frequency consistently. Okay, so that was a mouthful into itself. Alrighty, so back to more of the logistics of this. Now that this whole power pack diadem setup has been described, in summary for the entire diadem by itself, before it gets more complicated with more of the intentional out framework, is that it produces a very lovely pink ray love frequency through the higher aspect, has a very soothing, healing, angelic power pack to bring extreme calming and healing energy through the entire energy system, as well as a full spectrum stimulant of the miracle ratio, which is actually quite potent and quite dramatic in utilization since its inception, running this entire platform. And all 4 of these guys are actually set on the tried and true transmutation to generate a very purified contact patch to the earth. Then you take that concept and you have it live on a constant purification ratio, like a Himalayan salt lamp with an incandescent bulb to heat the salt, will ensure, once again, that this entire ratio is at peak vibrational capacity consistently, which is a very lovely, advantageous background energy generator, filter, and somewhat of a stimulant. And that's exactly why the aspect of a refining of the grounding of this capacity at a constant high frequency yield is critical for its true effectivity as a longevity pylon. So, once again, this central primary that all the other primaries are primary to generate a closed-loop circuit has this alligator clip shown here, clipped to this guy, going into this wire like so, and most importantly, going into the house ground right there. The one I ordered that will be actually in going in distribution with this guy has a single ground, but this is from my bed for my grounding sheet, so I utilize this guy for illustration purposes, and that has a full prong setup which takes up an entire outlet, yet the one I ordered is only a single prong ground. To further describe that aspect, so the intention, of course, most candles do not come with a ground port since you have an open ground right here. So this guy, like so, one I ordered will have the ground node like this by itself without these two plug ports. So you'll be able to actually plug this into the same cord to minimize the use of the outlet and keep it contained in that regard. But in this video, of course, I had on my person to make it work for illustration purposes. And so, back to the most important aspect of all this harmonic, sacred harmony diadem frequency is that it, like I said in the beginning of the video, has many of the greatest hits of different vibratory constructs with great research and development and field testing with unanimously positive, miraculous results on one circuit, yet it's always purified to amplify and harmonize the entirety of this peak output at constant max wide open throttle. That does not fluctuate since the stream consistency of electricity will constantly heat this guy up, which will always keep it on max charge. Then, most importantly, like I mentioned, I know of course I'm repeating myself, but this aspect is really worth a heavy notarization, and repeating myself in this aspect may be critical for comprehension's sakes, at least that's how I feel and I'm going with it. This clip grounds into the house ground. The entirety of any given house that's up to code based on modern building standards and codes will have this circuitry set up, where you have all of these outlets are these little dots around this right here, which will actually run on a common ground. This is hardwired through the entirety of the house. Any outlet is going through the entire house on one circuit, going somewhere in the premise, if it's up to code, which it most likely 99% is, will have somewhere attached to the premise an 8-foot copper rod, oftentimes driven into the ground. Somehow, some way, to get up to code for building inspections, they have to have this grounded cord be able to bypass a discharge of lightning. Like I mentioned, is 1.21 gigawatts, which is a tremendous amount of energy that is 3 times hotter than the surface of the sun when discharged. So to successfully arc that energy, it needs a very strong bypass. So, having this 8-foot copper rod, which is the common ground for all other outlets through the entire house, for the sake of safety, is utilizing this platform to get the most out of this man-made electrical engineering grid to contain through every outlet in the house would make a theory a very powerful magic castle shield generator of the entire premise, maintaining a harmonic perfected field 24/7, which would become just the new normal, which may seem like a magical, amazing shift at first, and everything